Blasphemy. So we are here in the last chapter of the book, which is the chapter of blasphemy. We saw categorizations of blasphemy here. One method is that there's two types of blasphemy, shirk and non-shirk. One method of classification is that there's tashbih and takdhib and ta'til. One classification is that there is kufr of the heart, kufr of the actions, kufr of the organs, kufr of the tongue, Also, kufr is either original or apostasy. And also, the kufr is either open or hidden. The kafir would either be an unapologetic one or a hypocrite. An unapologetic kafir, he's just a kafir. He doesn't show himself as anything else. Or the kafir would be a hypocrite. And then we talked about descriptions of blasphemy based on what came in the Quran about it, that it's a crime, it's injustice, it's vice, it's fitna. And we talked about the status of blasphemy and of the blasphemer, which is that the blasphemer has no status to Allah because of, on account of his blasphemy. And so Allah does not accept him, and he is the worst thing that traverses the face of the earth. And what the dung beetle pushes is better to Allah than the disbeliever. And we mentioned that it is not being accountable that makes the blasphemer have a low status. It's the blasphemy that makes the blasphemer have a low status. And even if the blasphemer were not accountable, he still has a low status by virtue of his blasphemy. That's proven by the hadith. لا تفتخروا بآبائكم الذين ماتوا في الجاهلية. Boast not of your fathers who died in the era of ignorance, etc., till the end of that hadith. Well, if they died in the era of ignorance, then if they weren't accountable, if they never got the message of a messenger, then are they okay? No, not in status. Even if they won't be tortured in the hereafter, their status is still in the negative zone because of their blasphemy. And we talked about that blasphemy is the sin that Allah will not forgive if a person dies with it, and then none of his other sins would be forgiven either. Yeah, question, go ahead.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah.
Hey, you said the blasphemy, is that the Namukaga one, the one dies with the Catholic, that his status is still...
Status is still low, yeah. Like he was an idol worshiper in the jungle somewhere, he never heard of the message.
My question is that this one won't be going to hellfire, he will go to Jannah?
According to the majority of the scholars, without hearing the message of a messenger, you will not be accountable on any level, and in the afterlife, you will not be punished.
Okay, now, so once, okay, now, this one being a Jannah, he would be at the lowest rank of a Jannah, paradise?
This kafir who got admitted into paradise because of not being accountable, what I heard is that the kuffar who get into paradise because of dying without being accountable, they shall live in the outskirts of paradise, means the outer rim. They live in the outer rim of paradise, not the interior. Yani, the interior is where everything's happening.
First time I heard that one, shit, I never knew that. I thought they were going to be in that. Okay, thank you, though.
You're welcome. Inshallah, we go, if we make it to paradise, inshallah, we'll go take a trip and see what those guys are doing over there. Inshallah. Now. And then we talked about how easy it is to commit blasphemy. We took some hadiths there about the ease of committing blasphemy. The one that we learn most of the time is this one. إن العبد لا يتكلم بالكلمة لا يرى بها بأسا يهوي بها في النار 70 خريفا. Surely the slave would certainly speak with the word of blasphemy, without seeing anything wrong with it. That's the proof that it's so easy to commit blasphemy. He doesn't see anything wrong with what he said. Yahwi biha fi nari sab'ina kharifa. He falls because of it into hell for 70 autumns. His falling for 70 autumns is the proof that he committed blasphemy, because that's the bottom of hell, and the bottom of hell is a place that only a blasphemer goes. Here's another one, another hadith that proves the ease of committing blasphemy as well as the ease of embracing Islam. Al-jannatu aqrabu ila ahadikum min shiraki na'lih wan-naru mithlu dhalik. Paradise is closer to one of you than his sandal strap, and hell is like that also. Before I forget, Sayyidi Bilal, you were asking me a question in Mustalah lesson. You asked me about Munkar Hadith. And I was telling you, Munkar Hadith is this and that. They think that they're afraid there's fabrication. That's not Munkar. That's Matruk. Matruk. I had a wahm there. Matruk Hadith, not Munkar Hadith. What I was defining, what I was talking, that talk goes to the Matruk Hadith, not the Munkar Hadith. Just so you can fix anything you need to fix. Inshallah, tomorrow in Mustalah lesson, I'll repeat this. If you are there and I forget, then don't let me forget, please. Inshallah. So I was listening back to the recording, and I said, Munkar is this and this and this. I said, that's not Munkar. So I had to just look. It's Matruk Hadith. طيب. Also, what's another hadith that proves that a person can commit blasphemy easily without knowing? This one. قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم يقولون الحق ويقرؤون القرآن ويمرقون من الإسلام ولا يتعلقون منه بشيء. They say the truth, they recite the Quran, and they go out of Islam, and nothing of it sticks to them. And this section here talks about the excuses of blasphemy, or what's like an excuse. This is where we are now. We covered saying explicit blasphemy without knowing what it means, and saying what appears to be blasphemy but could have more than one meaning. We talked about the slip of the tongue. We talked about the case of compulsion. We talked about the absence of mind. We talked about a person being newly acquainted with Islam. We talked about his case. We talked about citing another's blasphemy. And now today we want to talk about being a muta'awwil, a misconstruer, one who makes a wrong interpretation. And that is, he wants to get to the truth. He wants to get to the bottom of something, to the answer. But on his way there, he missed something. He slipped. He misunderstood something. He added something. He did something that got him to a wrong answer in the end. He did not arrive at the truth. Did he commit blasphemy? Sometimes he did, and sometimes he didn't. And that's what we're going to talk about now. The author says, being a muta'awwil, a misconstruer, a person making a ta'wil, a misinterpretation, by an ijtihad, a misapplication, ijtihad here, misapplication, concerning a judgment in the religion. Yes. So, the word ijtihad does definitely have a place here in the meaning of misinterpretation, misapplication here. And that's one way to explain the ayah. ابتغاء الفتنة وابتغاء تأويله. They pursue the ambiguous verses of the Quran to cause fitna and looking for their misinterpretation. Looking for their misinterpretation. وَابْتِغَاءَ تَأْوِيلِهِ. That means they're looking for what they want. They're looking for what they want it to mean. Not what is it, what does it mean? Let us understand. Rather, their way is, let us show how these mean what we say. So, Ijtihad. Why I'm stopping here on the word Ijtihad? Because of the Muawiyah issue. And the scholars who said he made an Ijtihad, and they did say he made an Ijtihad. And some of them, they say it in a correct way, and some of them, they don't say it in a correct way. Some of them say he made an Ijtihad, and what they are saying is correct. And some of them say he made an Ijtihad, and what they are saying is wrong. Those who said he made an Ijtihad, and what they meant was he did something, he did something to arrive at what he arrived at, then, but it's not right though. What he arrived at is wrong, and his course of action was wrong. There's no problem here. Here, the only problem is going to be a person who doesn't know what ijtihad means in that context, so he's going to get confused. And some of them, they say he made ijtihad, and what they mean is he made a legal ijtihad like a Shafi'i and those others. And so, according to them, there's nothing wrong here, and we don't talk about this too. That's what they say. This is wrong. So here we're talking about a person who made ijtihad, not the legal ijtihad. He has a misapplication concerning a judgment in the religion. The misconstruer does not blaspheme unless his mistake were in the qat'iyat, definitive matters. The qat'iyat, the definitive matters. The things that there's not two ways about them. There's not two ways to take them. There's only one way to take them, according to clear evidence. According to clear evidence. Hafiz Abu Zur'ah al-Iraqi said in his Nukat, he said, our Shaykh al-Bulqini said, it is necessary to say, bila ta'wil, without a misinterpretation. Yani, someone blasphemes if he does not have a ta'wil. A ta'wil that saves him from blasphemy. It is necessary to say bila ta'wil, without a misinterpretation, so to exclude the insurrectionaries, yani the Muslim insurgents. That means those who fought with Muawiyah and those who fought in Jabal, the Battle of Jamal. Those are not counted. They are not deemed as blasphemers. They do have a ta'wil though, because they are upon blunder. So we want to investigate what is the level of their blunder. Is their blunder blasphemy? No, it's not blasphemy. It's lower than blasphemy. So they're wrong. And what they are wrong about, there is clear evidence for their mistake. There is something that because of it, we're not deeming them as kafir. Now, in the case of Talha and Az-Zubayr, they did think really they were doing something right. That's true. They really, really, really thought they were doing something right, and then it became clear for them that they were wrong, and that's why they repented. They repented. They didn't just retract their saying. When a Shafi'i changed statement from one saying to another saying, he doesn't repent to Allah. He doesn't ask God for forgiveness with this meaning, not because he committed a sin. He did. There's no sin here. In their case, though, when they realized the reality of the situation, they knew that actually is wrong. Not an ijtihad that has regard, but it is blunder. So they got out of it. They cleared themselves of it. They cleared themselves of that. But Muawiyah, on the other hand, he knew what he was doing was wrong. So it's not the same thing. You said you meant to say fought with Muawiyah, not fought Muawiyah. Uh, or I meant that. Yani, I did mean to say fought Muawiyah, but it meant to me fought with him. Yani, his army fought his army. When the army of Ali fought the army of Muawiyah. Case of Muawiyah, he did have a ta'wil, yani he did make an ijtihad, but he knew he was wrong though. That's clear for any person who knows these the reports about this to sufficient detail. So Muawiyah didn't commit blasphemy, and Talha, excuse me, Talha and Az-Zubayr, they didn't commit blasphemy. It is necessary to say without a ta'wil, without a misinterpretation, so to exclude the insurrectionaries. They didn't commit blasphemy, they have a ta'wil. And to exclude the Khawarij, some of them that is. The Khawarij, the outlaws who legitimize the blood and money of the people of justice, while believing in the prohibition of their own blood being lawful for the people of justice. So some of the Khawarij, they have a blunder that does not demand of us to deem them as blasphemers. So they have a ta'wil here, and as well to exclude those who denied the obligation of zakat on them after the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Also, those are not deemed as blasphemers at the time of Abu Bakr. Those who did not believe that they had to pay their zakat after the Prophet died. So one might wonder, that's blasphemy or it's not blasphemy to deny the obligation of paying zakat after the Prophet died? For those people, they did not commit blasphemy because of the nature of their mistake. We'll see what we have here coming. All this will become more clear, insha'Allah. This is the judgment because the companions, may Allah accept their deeds, did not charge them with blasphemy. Those who denied the obligation of zakat after the Prophet died, alayhi salatu wassalam, the companions did not charge them with blasphemy. Footnote. This footnote goes here. Those who denied the obligation of the zakat on them after the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The misunderstanding of those who stopped paying zakat at the time of Abu Bakr as-Siddiq was that zakat was obligatory upon them only at the time of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, because they misinterpreted God's book. Surah At-Tawbah, ayah 103. خذ من أموالهم صدقة تطهرهم وتزكيهم بها وصل عليهم إن صلاتك سكن لهم. O Muhammad, take from their money a charity, which is the zakat, that purifies them. So, O Muhammad, take their money, take their zakat, take their charity. This is the base of their mistake. That the Prophet in particular was the one commanded in this ayah to take their money as zakat. So they said to Abu Bakr, now the Prophet has passed. So we're not giving you any zakat. But they didn't stop there. They said, and if you want it, you're going to have to come and get it. Yani, that means we're going to fight for it. So They said that he was commanded to supplicate for them when they pay zakat, and that would be mercy and tranquility for them, and that was cut off by his death. So that's how they wound up believing that the zakat is not obligatory on them. Not that they denied the zakat altogether, but that they thought that the obligation of the zakat was linked to the Prophet's life based on an ayah that they misinterpreted. And so the Sahaba did not deem these ones as blasphemers. Likewise is the case of those who misinterpreted the saying of Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala, Surah Al-Ma'idah, ayah 91. فَهَلْ أَنْتُمْ مُنْتَهُونَ. Are you going to stop? Yani, are you going to stop drinking? They thought it gave a choice to drink wine and not that it was a prohibition from drinking wine. So they found the question posed there and thought that yani, they didn't find that it was they didn't find it as a direct prohibition. When they found it in the form of a question, then they did not comprehend that this question was truly a prohibition. It's a figurative prohibition. I mean, it is really a prohibition, but not the way it's worded. The way it's worded is worded as a question. Are you going to stop? And the meaning is, you must stop. They thought it gave a choice to drink wine and not that it was a prohibition from drinking wine, and so they drank it. Omar did not judge them as blasphemers for this. This was during his rulership, during his rule. Rather, he said, whip them 80 lashes, 80 times each. Then, if they return to it, execute them. If they return to it means if they return to deeming it lawful, then execute them. This is narrated by Ibn Abi Shaybah. Footnote. Likewise, a person in the time of Umar made a mistake in interpreting the saying of Allah. ليس على الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات جناح فيما طعموا إذا ما اتقوا. Why is this written like this with no Arabic here? And he thought, so it means, so he thought that the ayah means that if a person fears Allah, then he's allowed to drink alcohol. Sayyiduna Umar did not charge him as a blasphemer for that, but rather he enforced the due punishment for him. He told the man, the one who fears Allah does not drink alcohol. The true meaning of the ayah is that if a person avoids the prohibited foods, then whatever he eats after that is not sinful. What ayah is this? Let me look in Mus'haf here. Previous ayah, Surah Al-Ma'idah, ayah 91. I want to see if it's the same ayah. Yeah, there it is. Yani, as if same story here. So, look here. فَهَلْ أَنْتُمْ مُنْتَهُونَ. We said this is Surah Al-Ma'idah, ayah 91. And this footnote here, a person likewise, this word likewise makes it look like different case, different incident. A person in the time of Umar made a mistake in interpreting the saying of Allah. This one that is transcribed here into English letters, that's ayah 93. Ayah 93 of Al-Ma'idah. So they drank it. Umar did not judge them as blasphemers. We take off this word likewise and just add a like this here. Now let me reread this for you. So, likewise is the case of those who misinterpreted the saying of Allah the Exalted. فَهَلْ أَنْتُمْ مُنْتَهُونَ. Are you going to stop? They thought it gave a choice to drink wine, not that it was a prohibition from drinking wine, so they drank it. Omar did not judge them as blasphemers. Footnote. A person in the time of Omar made a mistake in interpreting the saying of Allah, so which is the 93rd, in interpreting the saying of Allah, which is Al-Ma'idah 93. It has this transcription here. I'll leave it for now, and inshallah I'll come back and put the Arabic there. On the other hand, anyone who inferred from some evidence that the world is eternal, somehow he put his clues together and he put his proofs together, and his result is that the world has no beginning. He blasphemes despite his inference. He has a ta'wil here. Here, he does not escape blasphemy. The same is the case for a likener, meaning if someone put forth great effort and brought forth all the ayats he could find and all the tafsirs he could find and all the hadiths he could find to prove something, and the answer he arrives to is that Allah is in a place, then he's kafir. The same is the case for a likener. He likens God to the creations. When he argues with you, he's going to bring you so many ayat to prove that Allah has body parts and places. He's going to be a kafir. His misinterpretation will not save him from kufr. And for al-Murji'ah, who said that as long as a person is a Muslim, then the sins do not harm him, as the good deeds do not benefit the blasphemer, they said this relying on an ijtihad and by inferring wrong meanings from the texts, but they were not excused from being judged as blasphemers. وَسُبْحَانَ اللَّهِ وَبِحَمْدِهِ